why is this current budget problem for state and local government so crucial to the future of the country? And I think the reason is one that's often forgotten here in Washington, and that's that state and local governments are literally the nation's first responders. The list of services that they supply range from providing for public safety, streets and sanitation, and key features of the social safety net that provide our most vulnerable citizens with a basic measure of economic security. But while they try to manage the role of first responder, they're also the nation's chief investment officer. And what this graph shows is they're the primary provider of primary education, secondary education, higher education, and infrastructure. So 90% of government spending on K-12 spending comes from state and local governments. 70% of higher education spending comes from state and local governments. And 70% of infrastructure spending comes from state and local governments. And these are the very investments that provide our children with the skills necessary to compete in the increasingly competitive global economy. In previous and future work, the Hamilton Project has focused on ways to improve the educational system, and today we're going to try and shine a light on infrastructure. And I think it's probably worth, if you could choose a single word to describe the current functioning of the infrastructure system, I think it might be underperforming. There are acute public safety concerns about aging and deficient infrastructure. Many critical infrastructure systems, including highways, bridges, dams, and waterways, were built to last 50 years, but they're now operating well past that 50-year limit. Furthermore, the number of highway fatalities remains stubbornly high. More than 30,000 people per year die in auto accidents. In some way, it seems logical to conclude that that's related to the condition of the roads. As this graph highlights, congestion is another important issue. The economic costs of congestion have risen from about $20 billion in the 1980s to more than $120 billion per year today. And so what we've tried to do is to put forward what we think are not terribly controversial sounding principles for how to reform the system of infrastructure, but actually ones that are not always implemented on a day-to-day kind of grinded out basis. And so the first is we must prioritize investments in the future. So the investments decisions that we make today are going to affect American wages and productivity going forward. And just to put it plainly, as states face these current budget deficits, they must keep in mind the next generation. The second is we must use existing resources more efficiently. This can be done in several ways, as one of the papers we'll talk about shows. Maintenance often has higher returns than new construction. The adoption of new technologies can reduce congestion, and appropriate pricing, like congestion pricing, can also ensure that infrastructure is efficiently used. The third, and it came out a little bit in the previous panel, but it's surprising when you sit down and think about it, but currently most infrastructure spending is not done on a kind of cost-benefit basis. People don't actually rank the projects as to which ones will work and which ones won't, and then choose the ones that will work. And so some institution of that system, either through the public sector or public-private partnerships, I think is a way forward that could help a great deal. And the fourth is that we must increase transparency and accountability. State and local governments don't always keep the most transparent books, and it's not always easy to figure out how to price their bonds.